All right, fantastic. Welcome to all the new members as well. I hope you're tuning in live this evening. And if you are, please give me a heart, a thumbs up. Let me know that you're here. Say hello. Let me know who you are and where you're from. And so that I'm a better place to connect with you. And of course, if you're watching the replay, which I know a lot of people from over in the Northern Hemisphere will be, just drop a hashtag replay and let me know so that I can help to connect with you and answer any questions. So welcome. And let's get into it. So today or this evening, I'm going to be talking about it's really the first shift. So not necessarily the first step, but the first shift in your health and wellness if you have a thyroid challenge. However, also looking at the complexities of your health picture so that you can actually have all of the tools to actually craft your dietary and lifestyle blueprint. So specifically tonight, I'm talking about food. However, there is so much more than that, okay? But generally for the first real shift, we look at the physical symptoms. There are 4 pillars to thyroid wellness and longevity to actually seek out health abundance. And that is the physical. We've got the mental in terms of like stress impact, emotional well-being, and of course, the spiritual connection that you have as well, okay? So all of those elements for many health conditions, specifically I'm talking about thyroid wellness, require a deep dive into at some point across your health journey, whether it's now or in 10 years' time, yeah? Because thyroid wellness is a very, very complex issue. There are very many different root causes, a myriad of signs and symptoms, and the signs and symptoms overlap with other health conditions, which can make it really difficult to understand, what part plays into the thyroid wellness and what part is actually to do with something else. And to be quite honest, the truth is that our body's hormonal network communicates with each other. Yeah. So the hormones are molecules that travel through the blood, or you may even call them chemical messengers, which actually communicate with one another. So if one system is under par or going through a life stage transition or something else, it will potentially negatively impact or exacerbate your thyroid condition if you've already established that you have one. Okay. And then we also need to also factor in that thyroid dis-ease comes from many different pathways, but the 2 main ones are either stemming from the immune system, lending itself to an autoimmune issue or autoimmune disease, so Graves or Hashimoto's. And then the other kind of, polar opposite almost is, an imbalance with your hormones, which is pretty much local to your hormonal network, still influenced by your gut health. However, it might be triggered by another particular issue. Having said that, I do have to say that many, thyroid manifestations or thyroid disease manifestations, such as hypothyroidism or hyperthyroidism, are typically triggered by the autoimmune component. In fact, that is on the rise, and that has become a major trigger. And it's also on the rise in recent years as well, given, the vaccines. There's a lot of scientific research, and I will be doing a deep dive on that at another time. But there is so much scientific research now that all this information has come out to show that during the pandemic, different vaccines, not all of them, but different vaccines were actually triggering autoimmune thyroid disease. So all this is coming out now, and I just did another search the other day, and they're like in double digits of scientific papers. So if you're just a side note, if you're wanting a specific live training on that, just type V research, V, the letter V research, and that would just give you a really good, clear understanding on how many people within this group would be really interested in that topic. Yeah, because it's something that's kind of accelerating as we speak in terms of the research around that. All right, so if you're on, let me know that you're here, and let's get into it. Okay, so essentially, I'm talking to the person who has a complex overlay of health issues, all tied into thyroid disease or symptoms of thyroid disease. Yeah, and they haven't actually yet established a congruent dietary, I call it a blueprint or a dietary plan, so that you actually know what to do for yourself. Because, if you just follow a healthy diet, healthy is so subjective, and, my healthy may be really unhealthy for you. Who am I to say that what I do for me should be what you do for you, right? So it's really so bespoke and so tailored and so individual, because it needs to factor in your genetic picture, all the other symptoms and what's going on in your body, whether you're going through menopause. Menopause can be a huge trigger if it's postpartum as well. If you're undergoing a significant amount of stress at the time, there are a lot of complexities, or there may be another dis-ease. You may have high cholesterol, you may have insulin resistance, or you may have a chronic digestive issue, like just poor bowel health forever and a day, or constant bloating. There are so many factors to consider when I work with an individual to help them craft their dietary blueprint. So I wanted to talk about my 7 principles, which I recommend and pretty much go through with every single client that comes into my realm to actually craft your dietary blueprint. Yeah. So we're not going to be talking about all the other things. It's so complex and it's a big picture. However, if you're here and listening to this tonight or on the replay, and you haven't yet nutted out the best foods for you, I'd love you to just type in the chat dietary blueprint. Because a dietary blueprint, it's more than the 80-20 rule. It's actually 80% bespoke to you, so that you know that you're actually going to feel amazing for the most of the time, and you have the confidence that what you're actually taking into your body is going to fortify your body, help balance your thyroid, help establish integrity within your gut microbiome, within your gastrointestinal tract lining. It's going to help lower inflammation in your body. It's going to help calm your nervous system. It's going to help your cardiovascular system, and all systems go, so that then the other 20% of the time, when you have a birthday party or you go to a wedding or you're going out for dinner with friends, you can really let your hair down and enjoy yourself without having to be so rigid for all of your life. And it's also about looking at what is great for you and then creating brand new recipes around that theme, so that you can actually really enjoy your diet without feeling like it's restrictive. I have like a lot of clients that come to me when we always start at the gut. There's absolutely nowhere else to start, actually. It all stems from the gut. So we always start with the digestive system. And, I see a lot of people, and I find that a lot of the struggles are that the dietary regime is too restrictive. And then that then becomes too hard, and it can really impact your quality of life, and you feel like you're missing out and all of those things. And I mean, I'm absolutely passionate about food. If I wasn't a naturopath, I'd probably be a chef. I absolutely love cooking. It's my happy place. I can lose track of time, and I can spend all afternoon and come out of the kitchen feeling completely in my bliss. I thoroughly enjoy it. So, I love creating recipes for clients with, dietary issues or, food impacts on their thyroid health. Because one, it's super important because you could take the most elaborate supplementary regime. You can do all of those things. However, if you're putting a healthy food that's actually causing inflammation in your body that you are none the wiser, that can actually be such a sabotaging factor and just really prevent you from, getting the very best, the health potential that you're actually after. And this is why, even though I think the science and data around, for example, the autoimmune protocol diet and ketogenic diet and, the paleo diet and all of that, that's all great. However, even if you may follow something like that as a trend and you've found that that's actually great for you, you can still bespoke it even more, because there may be some foods. I mean, just take paleo, for example. Paleo tends to be quite heavy on the meat. And if you're quite inflamed and you're having a lot of meat every night, the meat transfers into arachidonic acid, which actually creates more inflammation in your body. So that's just a classic example. So there's a time and a place for everything. And I'm just thinking of another example. For example, if let's say you're following a ketogenic diet, however, in the past you've had surgery and you don't have a gallbladder. That's potentially going to be very problematic for you, because you're lacking the drip feed of the bile from the gallbladder that helps to break down the fats. Okay, so this is why it's really important for me, and this is my passion, this is my wish for everybody who has a thyroid challenge, to shine the light on the whole person with respect to the thyroid disease, but don't just shine the light on the thyroid. Yeah, so shining the light only on the thyroid is getting a pathology test done on your thyroid gland and then tweaking the medication here and there. I mean, that's only going to go so far, which is why I find that many people that are medicated with thyroxine, they're still not actually achieving their best level of health, despite seeing normal, and what's normal, by the way, because it's all done on population studies, despite seeing normal pathology. So, I mean, some people just run well on a higher TSH. Some people run well on a lower TSH. Like it's really a limited amount of information. It's a good amount of information to have, and I'll always do a full thyroid panel, but it's just that on its own is quite limited. There is a lot more that we can do. Yeah, so I hope that's a really great introduction. And if you're excited, give me a thumbs up, give me a heart, give me a star, so that, I can, know that this is actually on point for a lot of you that are watching this evening. Okay, so the problem faced is that healing your thyroid is multifactorial, multidimensional, from physical, dietary pattern, lifestyle, and also your intuition. So tying in that heart consciousness, and that feeling, like when I hear clients say to me, you know what, yeah, okay, here's a classic example of heart consciousness. Because sometimes, I I use that word a lot, and people don't really know what I'm talking about. So what I mean by heart consciousness is, your seat of intuition. It's kind of like your body knowing, like your inner wisdom that's trying to speak to you, because our heart feels, our mind thinks. So when we're thinking too much and not feeling, and we've got that disconnect, we can actually miss a lot of information. So having that really good, strong connection, heart, brain connection is really, really important, and really leading through your heart. So classic example is when, clients, they might be taking a supplement and they're taking A, B, and C. And by the way, with supplements, it's only for a bridge to get you from A to B. It's not forever and a day. But let's say, they're taking the first one and the third one, but they're always missing the second one. They're always missing it. And then, and I think, oh, okay, well, what's the problem? It's not anything in particular. It's just they're always missing it. Something in that. Yeah. So that's when we explore and go deeper, and we might need to find something different that's more, directly related to the person. Yeah. So heart consciousness is that inner knowing. So even when you're holding a food, and I suppose this kind of links into kinesiology. It's not kinesiology, and I'm not a kinesiologist, but even if you're just like holding a food, like, how does it feel? Like, does it feel like it's going to be good for you? Yeah, does it feel like, and if you're unsure, and if you think, I don't know what she's talking about, don't worry about it, because we start with other things first and we build up to that. However, I'm just giving you a glimpse of what's possible. So when you really know your body inside and out to, it's the deepest core level, like inside, like you don't need any external, you get to that point where you don't need any more external guidance. You actually go inwards and seek the guidance from within. That's when you're really on track, and your health just accelerates and accelerates and accelerates. And that's why I love the term health abundance. It's not just a fluffy term that I, spin around. Health abundance is our birthright. It is available to each and every one of us if we understand the sabotaging factors and all of those areas that are holding us back. Yeah. So if you're seeking health abundance, just type health abundance. So what is health abundance? It's abundance in health. It's getting up out of bed and having vibrant energy. It's being able to do a quest or something that's always spurred you on, but you feel that you've had those physical limitations. So able to have that mental clarity and sail through each life transition with ease. That, to me, is health abundance. And aging gracefully, having that vitality, yeah, entering into the wisdom years with excitement, because why isn't it exciting? I think it's fantastic, So all of these things that we have available to us, right? Anyway, 7 principles. I haven't really gone through those yet, so I'm going to go through these now. So here we go. I'll just see if just check that I'm still on. Yeah, here we are. All right. So the seven principles. So number 1. Okay. So number 1, whole earth cuisine. Yeah. So this is just an overarching factor. I mean, is your food made in the laboratory or is it grown in the ground? Yeah. Easy way to discover that is it from a packet? Is it not? Yeah. I mean, how many, the thing is you can think that there's this new food that's just out that has a particular flavor and it's really yummy. But, these laboratories are very, very clever, and they actually create flavors of food without using the food. It's called a chemical reaction. So, there's actually quite a lot of lab food out there, and it's really important to actually know the ingredients and know what the preservatives stand for, and know what it is that you're putting into your body, because anything that's really foreign or man-made or not actually from the earth is going to cause some level of disharmony in your body, whether it's full-blown inflammation or whether it's gut issue, etc., etc. So, processed as well versus grown, like grown fresh. How is it grown? Is it organic? Is it biodynamic? Is it local? Fresh is absolutely the number one to go, number one way to go, because you're getting all the vital nutrients. Okay. So it's just a principle that I go by, because, you could be having all the great vegetables, but they could have been cold storage for 6 months, or they could be packed from overseas and they've actually traveled and then they've been nuked through the customs before they get to you. So they're not actually nutritious at all by the time they go through all of that process, not to potentially what a locally grown product would be. Okay, so there's all of these things to it's a principle. It's actually a principle. Okay, so the second one, and I've kind of blended itself to this as well, is where has it been sourced? Is it ethically grown? What are the energetics around the growth of that food? Because food has intelligence, just like we do, just like the trees do. Everything has intelligence. Just notice I've got, deal with that later. Everything has intelligence and consciousness. So do you want something that's dead or something that's alive? Do you want something that's genetically modified? And sometimes you won't know until you know. A lot of even like flaxseed oils and flax seeds, a lot of those are genetically modified. Now, flax seeds are a really healthy food. In fact, they're really good at modulating estrogen. So it's good to put a couple of tablespoons of flaxseed in like a smoothie if you've got a hormonal imbalance on that side of things. However, if it's genetically modified, you wouldn't want to touch it. Or and other chemicals in foods. Okay, so that's the second principle. The second principle is source. Where has it been sourced? You could purchase something from a local grower that isn't classically organic. However, it is responsibly farmed and it is low chemical, and it has, the farmer has integrity, and that could be extremely healthy for you, especially if it's freshly picked, because, once anything has been picked, it starts to degrade. So day 1, day 2, day 3 starts to degrade. That's pretty obvious. All right, so principle number 3 is testing. So testing, have a look at, your health picture and where are the gaps in the knowledge. Okay, so for example, you've got these digestive issues, and where are the gaps in the knowledge? What's happening in your microbiome? What's happening with your liver function? What's happening with all the digestive enzymes? Do you have the right balance of enzymes? Do you have the good ratio of short-chain fatty acids? Do you have growth or imbalanced growth of different bacteria or yeasts or parasites, molds potentially? Any of these things. So doing some further testing can be crucial to understanding what type of diet to actually have to help eradicate that. With such a chronic issue, of course, you may be on a treatment plan, especially if you've got a parasite or imbalanced gut flora, etc. However, how would you know unless you do the deep dive testing? The other thing is, often if a thyroid issue comes from the autoimmune often there is, what's classically termed leaky gut or intestinal permeability. And it's really, really important to drill down into the diet to see what's actually exacerbating the healing of that gastrointestinal membrane, and look at ways to accelerate the healing process. So if you're taking a supplement to help yourself heal, but then you're having food that's causing the inflammation, you're kind of doing a good thing and then a not so good thing, and you may not even be aware of it. So I love doing that type of testing as well. So food, especially where, I have several clients where, what showed up that they would never have thought. It's like, well, that's healthy. Yes, it's healthy. It just happens to be not healthy in your body, So yeah, it can be really interesting. And then also with these IgA reactions, sometimes it's the family of food. So sometimes you may not be having that food, but it's related to another food that you're having. And because it's from the same kind of, I suppose, genetic pool, that's actually what's causing the issue. So there are many things to look at. Then there's also looking at your metabolic health and, the storage of minerals in your body, in your tissues, and looking at that from that angle as well. There are many different types of tests and different levels of testing, and it's really up to us as a partner, in partnership, to define the best level of testing that's going to actually provide the best level of information, so that from there we can move forward and really, really tailor your dietary blueprint for you. Okay, so that's principle number 3. Principle number 4 is assessing different foods which could actually come under different dietary names that may be sabotaging your success due to a digestive issue that's actually triggering or impacting your thyroid wellness. So, for example, if you've got, or you may have heard of SIBO, or small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, and if you're having digestive issues such as bloating or discomfort, or IBS type symptoms, you may have that. And then if you're having high FODMAP foods, so FODMAP is an acronym which stands for a group, I'm not going to say it, a group of carbohydrates, and some foods are higher in different, the FODMAP carbohydrate, and other foods are much lower. And it also depends on the amount of food as well. So it's very, very complex. It's been very well studied at the Monash University. So there's a lot of information. And in fact, if you ever did have SIBO, or you find out that that's actually your root cause to intestinal permeability, there are apps that actually help you to define what foods are good for you and which are sabotaging your healing. Yes, so there's also that to consider. Potential foods that trigger further growth of yeast. Also, even going on a more complex and deeper level than that, I had a client who had a lot of yeast in their report, but wasn't actually consuming a lot of yeast, and with a lot further testing and deep dive testing, we found that it was actually coming from the mold in her home. And unfortunately, 90% of homes on the eastern seaboard of Australia are actually infected with mold. And if you happen to have the genetic predisposition, that because we know that genes load the gun and the environment pulls the trigger. So if you happen to have the genetic predisposition for, like you're a canary in the coal mine, so you're very sensitive, and, you have all of these symptoms that are seemingly unrelated, I would love to get in touch with you, because I know exactly the pathway that I can help you with that. I actually worked with this client for 1 year, and she is just going so well. Her health has elevated. So, she's reached new heights, and she was on a quest for about 4 years before we worked together to try and uncover what was actually going on for her. And it was through that deep dive, close proximity, and further testing that we actually found that was probably the trigger to thyroid, as well as a myriad of other health issues. So, you've got to get to the source. And that's what I love. I love the complexity. I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't love it when someone has a complex issue, because they generally have a lot of signs and symptoms and are in poor health. However, this is the demographic of people with thyroid issues that is just left. And that really angers me. I was going to say another word. That really angers me, because unfortunately, these people are mismanaged, misdiagnosed, underdiagnosed, and are just kind of, I don't know, they're put in the too hard basket. So if the medical system is just kind of like leaving them out, like, I don't know, hanging them out, just, I don't know what that saying is, leaving them out to dry. I don't know, there's a saying there. I mean, where are these people going to go? And they've gone to a thyroid specialist. They've gone to several GPs. Functional medicine doctor didn't pick it up. Yeah? So if this is you, I would love to get in touch with you, because that is, I will do the deep dive with you all the way, because that is really that's what really, I suppose, what triggers me the most, and I suppose what spurred my passion to actually work in this area, is because it's like, okay, you've got this, your thyroid's out of whack, let's just give you some medication without any respect to root cause, to source, to exacerbating factor, and to what else is going on in that person's body, and with respect to genetic predisposition. It's really, okay, you're this pigeonhole. And don't get me wrong, I mean, of course, sometimes, depending on the health of the thyroid, medication is needed, but oftentimes it's not needed. And if the thyroid gland is healthy, absolutely you can do the things necessary so that you won't then need the medication. It's not true that you need to be on the medication for life. I'm telling you now. However, if you've been on medication for decades, it might be true for you. But that's something, I'm just being completely honest, because when the body has had something synthetic come in and provide the thyroxine, your hormones, they downregulate. They just kind of, because there's another synthetic thing that's coming in and doing it. Anyway, that's a whole other topic on its own. There's still so much you can do with your dietary blueprint, lifestyle, and all of those things that we have available to us, if you know where to look and if you know what to do. Okay, so I got a bit passionate there, a bit fired up there on a Wednesday night. All right, so number 5. Yeah, so anyway, complex. If you feel that you're in the too hard basket, and you're, in the eyes of the medicos, and you're really seeking support and guidance and some deep connection with someone to really take your health seriously, I'd love you to write deep dive. I'd love you to type deep dive, because that's my passion. That is my passion. That's what brought me into this space out of everything else, because I know what it's like to not be listened to, and to not be heard, and to not get the level of support. Okay, right, so write deep dive. Okay, so principle number 7, how is the macronutrient value, does it match with your energy requirements? Okay, so I'm just talking about your macros, like your fats, your carbohydrates, and your protein. So, what are you doing on a day-to-day basis? What is your stress levels like? What's your sleep like? Because we need a great balance of micronutrients, but we also need to ensure that we're getting the right ratio of macronutrients for our body, depending on our energy requirements. So this idea of you only have X amount of calories a day, well, it depends on what you're doing. Depends on how strenuous your day is. whether it's physically induced or mentally induced. So that's a pretty obvious one, but that's always factored in when crafting your unique dietary blueprint. Okay, so if you're unsure about the macros, type macros. Fantastic. All right, so principle number 6. Yeah, I really love this one. So how is your meal prepared? Yeah, so how is it prepared? Not necessarily what, not necessarily the recipe, but what mood are you in? So if you're kind of like it's hectic, and you've got the kids to sort out, or you've just had a busy day at work and all of that, and if you get into that pattern of needing the takeaway, or that quick fix to kind of shut up the hunger, that's kind of a slippery slope. It is actually a slippery slope. However, if you are in a place of zen and you're creating a meal from a place of love, that will make a big difference to the taste of the meal. And that has actually been scientifically proven. Yeah. So, yeah, it's just something to actually think about there. And then number 7, and I'm just conscious of the time, 40 minutes, guys. Number 7 is allowing space for digestion and assimilation. So this is just, it's not really rocket science, but, just allowing space, not eating at your office. Like if you need to eat in the office because you don't have another space, just shut all your gadgets down, shut your computer down. Don't be eating while you're working. Like if you've finished your meal and you've completely missed it, like you've eaten it, like it's gone, evidence is that you've eaten it, but you can't remember the taste or anything, you've probably eaten it way too fast. So that's actually placing a lot of pressure on your digestive enzymes and all other systems. And if that's a chronic pattern, it's going to be a sabotaging factor for sure. Yeah, so this is a huge principle. Bring back sitting around the table and giving gratitude and thanks for our meal. Yeah, remember in the Waltons, and they used to sit around the table. If anyone's born in the 70s, you'll remember the Waltons. It's an American series, type Waltons, if you know what I'm talking about. And the family are sitting around and they're all holding hands, and they have a prayer. They have a prayer for their evening meal. They give thanks. Now, here's where something along those lines is really fantastic for your digestive system. It creates a pause and some space between the time when the meal is cooked and when you're actually eating the meal. Yeah, it creates some space. That space allows your cephalix, the old sense of smell, which is your oldest sense in the body, to actually impact your brain, for you to get that anticipation and really, wanting to dive into the meal. And that starts to secrete all the digestive enzymes. So we first secrete salivary amylase in our, my mouth is watering now because I've already had dinner, but my mouth is watering because I'm talking about food. So this is the thing, yeah? So we smell it and we imagine it and we feel it, and then we start to secrete the first step to digestion. So really allowing that space for digestion. And, I'm a huge advocate of, getting outside in the park. If you're at work, if the weather lends itself, getting out in the sun, maybe under a nice tree, or, on the beach, just getting out somewhere in a nice space to have your lunch, and having your your brunch. If you're doing a fast, it might be a brunch, and then having your meal early, but actually allowing the space and not eating it on the run or in the car, or quickly before you dash off. Fair enough, we've got to live our life, and sometimes, I don't know, when was it, on the other day, Monday night, I went to a beautiful meditation. It was to honor the solar eclipse, and for the, you know, the birthing of the new earth, you know, whichever way you want to look at it, there was a significant amount of energy. If you're sensitive to energies, and if you're attuned, you would have felt it. So, and if you weren't, you still would have received it. So it's kind of like a win-win. Anyway, I went there and we did some singing, and oh my goodness, it was so beautiful. Anyway, the point of this story is I, you know, had to completely change my routine to be there on time. So I had to have my dinner so much earlier. So I actually didn't have dinner. I had like a late lunch and just organized it. So sometimes it's just about a little bit of pre-planning so that you're not going to, because there's nothing worse than running out the door and going hungry. That's not good either. Or you know, eating on the run. That's really not great for your digestive system. So if you're wanting a really sound, intact digestive system, or one that's healed forever and a day, these are 7 crucial principles that actually link into your thyroid wellness and your whole health and wellness. Okay, so if you're interested in having a chat to me about this, or the connection between your digestion and your thyroid wellness, I would love to chat with you. Just sorry, it's getting late. Just type chat, and then we can just set up a 15-minute call, and just so that I can connect with you, get to know you. Some people in this group I don't really know, and a lot of people I know and are doing really well. So if you're sitting on the sidelines and you'd just like to find a little bit more about how I might be able to help you get to where you need to be, just type chat, and then we can set up a time and connect. All right, that's it from me. And this is our new time for a while. I'm just not used to it being this late. I don't know why I put those on my head. So this is the new time for a while. We're going to trial this 7:30. It just clears the day for me to actually then deliver a live training at night in most of your downtime. So yeah, stick with me, and if it doesn't end up working out, we can tweak the time, but this is it for now. All right, that's it. Bye for now.